welcome to my show, Nutrition for Health, Perfect Weight and Wellbeing on UK Health Radio, your global feel-good radio. I'm Dora, Walsh, and I've been working in the field of natural and functional medicine for 14 years. I'm a qualified nutritionist and nutritional therapist, and I support my clients to overcome chronic health concerns like hormonal imbalances, digestive problems, chronic fatigue, autoimmune concerns, skin concerns, low immunity, and more. You can find out more about me on the internet via Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can also find me on my website, nutriheal.net. Well, this week, we're going to be talking about our immune system. Really, more importantly, how to keep ourselves well and resistant to infection during the cold and flu season by focusing on nutrition and also the kinds of remedies and supplements we can use to support our immune system so we stay well and healthy throughout this tricky cold spell of weather we're having. Our immune system protects our body from outside invaders, and these include germs like bacteria, viruses, fungi, and toxins. Our immune system is made up of many different organs, cells, and proteins that all work together. And it's so important that we know how to support that immune system so that it works really well and can defend us. Well, this week, I'm going to be talking with Amy Young. She's the head nutritionist at Alyve Wellness Personalised Supplements. And you can find out more about them on www.Alyve Wellness. I'm going to spell that out for you because it's spelt a bit differently. Alyve and then wellness.com. It's great to have you on the show. I really appreciate you coming on. I heard about your supplements and I thought they looked wonderful because they were personalized. And because with our immune system, especially at this time of year, we have to think about personalizing our nutrition a bit. But before we go on to talk about how to supplement and eat well for the cold and flu season to support our immunity, can you tell us a bit more about yourself, Amy? How you came to be a nutritionist and working in this area of supporting people with their health through supplements and nutrition?
Firstly, thank you for having me. It's great to be on the podcast. I used to be in the wellbeing industry in PR and marketing, and I learned a lot about nutrition and wellbeing. And I worked with nutrition clients, and I started to change my diet myself. And it's a quite stressful industry, and I also suffered with IBS, and I was starting to change my diet, and I just saw a massive improvement. And that really led me to look about making a career change. So I did a degree, a BSc honours, and I did it part-time whilst I was still working, which took me a long time. It took me about 5 or 6 years, but I did it, and I qualified about 2018, and I've been running my own clinic ever since, alongside working with companies such as Alyve, and also sometimes doing a bit of branding and content writing as well. But that's my background really. And I think what really struck me is how amazing nutrition is, and even we take for granted eating, and we do it all the time, we do it every day, and I think sometimes we don't actually understand how important it is to get the variety of foods, or to make sure we're getting enough fruit and veggies in our diet, and how powerful vitamins and minerals actually are, and what they do for us in our body, and how they're linked to gut health, and obviously immunity, which we're going to be talking about today, also energy and sleep and focus and all those kinds of things as well. So I think once you start to learn about it, you really just fall in love with it. And I think all the practitioners that I talk to would say that, and I think you probably say that as well.
I never knew about nutrition until I fell ill. And then fall ill, and I'm better now. Then when you're unwell, if you're lucky enough to find out about how nutrition can literally help build your immune system, your health, it's amazing because it actually changes your body at the cellular level, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I think that, and there's different kinds of vitamins as well. And you've got the water soluble vitamins that almost act straight away. So if we're talking about immunity there, we've got vitamin C, which I think everybody is quite aware that that's a vitamin that we need for immunity, but it can't be manufactured by the body, and that's why we need a daily intake of it. It improves the function of the immune cells, and it actually can decrease the duration of infection. So even if we were to fall ill with a cold or a flu, to make sure that we are armed with the right kinds of foods which are packed with vitamin C would be a really good thing to do. And we know the citrus fruits, but we're also talking about tomatoes and maybe the lesser known sources, which would be what we call cruciferous vegetables, but they're broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cabbage and cauliflower. I think everyone just thinks oranges when they think vitamin C, but actually we can get it from a lot more in our diet than that. So it's important to get that variety.
Definitely. And also, do you advise people to have their vitamin C away from coffee and tea so it isn't depleted in the body?
Yes, definitely. And I think, if you're talking about supplements, then some supplements are better taken with food because they can make you feel a bit nauseous, but sometimes it can be good to maybe leave maybe an hour after you've had a meal, so you've got a bit of a full tummy, and because some nutrients we need food to help them absorb, so the fat soluble vitamins, for example, we need healthy fats to help those absorb. But yes, I think away from tea and coffee is important.
Fantastic. So you've mentioned vitamin C. What other vitamins do people need to be aware of, and how can they get them in terms of the vitamins or the minerals that can help support their immune system at this time of year?
So another really important nutrient is zinc, and this is really important for enhancing the activity of our immune cells. And also it can be affected if we have a diet that's high in phytates, then that can inhibit the absorption of zinc. When I talk about phytates, we're talking about grains, legumes such as beans and kidney beans and nuts and seeds, and even potatoes and beetroots. And that sounds a bit strange because some people would say, yeah, but that's what you tell me to eat. So if you're telling me that now that hinders the absorption of zinc, that's confusing. But all you really need to do is make sure that you are cooking those foods, soaking them, and that can reduce the amount of phytic acid in those. So that should help with your absorption from zinc. And again, really, it's about getting that well-balanced diet to ensure that you're not getting too much of anything that hinders absorption, and that you're getting that variety.
Lovely. And where can we get zinc in terms of the foods that we should be adding to our diet?
Oh, I've had a bit
sesame seeds, and I love getting. I mean, I try and get it from sesame seeds or seafood. If people are apparently very rich in seafood. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. And I think actually seafood, when I'm in clinic, it's one of the things that people generally don't eat enough of, to be honest. I'm always trying to think of ways that people can get more seafood and fish actually into their diets, because some people find it difficult to cook, or they might think that they have to buy kind of fresh fish, or they don't like handling it. And part of what I do actually is trying to find ways that people can get a variety in their diet, easy ways and often less expensive. And I think that's very important at the moment, I think, with the cost of living crisis, because I think sometimes nutrition, it can suffer, and then the knock on that can have with immunity. And we're entering the winter season, so it still is important to keep having those foods. So if we're talking about seafood, then frozen seafood isn't a bad thing, and you could buy maybe whitefish or salmon fillets frozen. Obviously, you can buy prawns as well, and that can be just as good as buying it from the fish counter or from the fresh aisle as well. And you can very easily make a quick homemade curry, for example, or something in a tomato sauce, and you can just make that from scratch with some vegetables and then just poach the fish in it. And often a great time saver as well is just putting all the fillets of fish in there, so then you can eat a couple and then store some meals in the freezer for times that you can't be bothered to cook for. And I think that's really important, to have those meals in the freezer for when you can't be bothered to cook, because I think that can happen a lot.
Oh, definitely, especially as we're mums. I'm sure there's a lot of mums listening, and dads, and people, even busy people that don't have kids, that come home from work, or maybe they're working from home. They don't have time to make a long lunch. Just get something out of the freezer the night before. defrost it, and then you can heat it up easily, hopefully not in the microwave. And that's really going to provide that nutrition to support the immune system, to feed our cells for them to work properly. And we have to feed them with the right nutrients. And so it all has to come through what you eat. And obviously we're going to be talking a bit later about supplements, because it's hard to get all of our nutrients through the food we eat, because it's a bit cheap these days, isn't it?
Yes, it can be. And for many reasons, really. I think we don't eat how we once did. If we're thinking of our parents' generations, my parents are in their late 70s. So these days we have a lot more convenience foods. We are busier and farming is different. Our food just isn't as nutritious, sadly. And pesticides, we've got those to deal with as well. And some people are on many kinds of different diets, such as vegetarian, vegan. Maybe they're reducing carbohydrates and they're not getting enough B vitamins through their fiber, because if you reduce your carbs, then sometimes that can mean that you're having a lower fiber diet. So these different ways we're eating actually stops us from getting the nutrition we need. Medications can also reduce our levels of vitamins as well. So it really is important to, if we feel that we're not getting a varied diet, that we can supplement. And it's great that we can have that choice. Obviously, with that, it's good to get the right kinds of supplements. So you would want to be looking for a supplement that has no binders and fillers, that is non-GMO, and all of that stuff, which is really, really important, because that does make a difference to the nutritional quality of the supplements.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can't wait to go on to that whole topic of supplements. In love with them. They really help me to enhance what I'm doing with my health, and they can be used in all different ways. But in terms of the actual nutrients that we need in our baseline diet, you talked a bit about vitamin C, which we know about, but you talked about the different sources other than just citrus. And it's really important to have that varied diet. You also talked about the mineral zinc and how that supports our immune system and how to get it. What are the other nutrients that we need to think about getting? I mean, I know a lot of people talk about vitamin D, and it's a bit dark at the moment. So I'm wondering if that's one that we should be thinking about.
Definitely. And I think vitamin D, and I think as practitioners, we all celebrated a bit when vitamin D came into the headlines about how important it was for the immune system with what we all went through with COVID. But vitamin D actually enhances the immune system's ability to recognize bugs and to help the immune system and help against flu and respiratory tract infections as well, which is why it was so important during COVID. And the main source is from sunlight, and that can be difficult for us in the UK, because in the winter we just don't get enough, especially if we cover our skins as well and we're indoors. So if we're looking at food sources, we can get a small amount from mushrooms. I think you can buy some mushrooms and they actually have a vitamin D sticker on them, and that's actually because those mushrooms have been put almost in a sunbed. They've been put under sunlight, so that vitamin C enhances.
Sun-dried mushroom. Oh yeah.
And eggs are a nice source, and also sardines as well. They're a nice nap source as well, because clouds can affect how much vitamin D we get from the sun in the winter, even pollution. So it's really important that we try our best to be protected in the sun, but get our vitamin D in the summer, but also keep eating those foods during the winter. And obviously supplementation of vitamin D throughout the winter is important as well. It's actually it can help reduce inflammation in the body, which is really important for a healthy immune system.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And what are the other candidates in terms of nutrients and in terms of vitamins and minerals that we should be thinking about? We've got C, D, zinc.
Yeah, vitamin A, that helps boost the activity of our immune cells, and it actually can help to strengthen the gut lining. And I think when we talk about immunity, we actually almost in a way have to talk a little bit about gut health, because 70% of our immune system is in the gut. So some of these nutrients that we talk about are actually really important to enhance gut health as well. And vitamin A is one of those. Selenium is also a great and important vitamin for the immune system. And that actually helps to assist with digestion and helps us to absorb certain nutrients. and can actually help to prevent against any harmful bacteria from colonizing in our bodies, in our gut. So it has a direct effect on our microbiome, on that healthy bacteria in our gut. So that's really important as well. And selenium we can get that from, I think Brazil nuts is a really great source, which is good going into the Christmas season.
Oh, yes.
And also I think maybe one of the lesser known ones that we can talk about is lemon balm.
Oh, yeah. That one for immune health. Tell me.
Yeah, so lemon balm, it has a high content of flavonoids, which means it's wonderful antioxidant, and that can help with oxidative stress in the body. And that just helps us fight toxins within our immune system, and we naturally produce those. However, we need to make sure we eat enough antioxidants and have enough antioxidants so we can fight against those toxins in our body. And that's why you'll hear many nutritionists really stress the importance of antioxidants. So L-theanine as well. I
heard that this one is a very calming one, but I didn't know that it was involved in the immune system as well.
Yes, it can. Research has shown that it can support the immune system as well, because it has anti-inflammatory properties. So I think anything that has those anti-inflammatory properties can really help us support the immune system.
Got you. Now, just going back to vitamin A, which I know you mentioned before, where can people get vitamin A from? And then we'll go on to talk about L-theanine and how they can get that into their diet.
I think vitamin A, we can get that from, I guess, carrots and
sweet potato.
Yes, sweet potato, I think, is a really great source as well. Tomatoes as well. And I think the highest, I guess, content is liver. People aren't really fond of eating liver, but I think as well, it's I guess because of how we eat these days, we always eat kind of the cleanest part of the animal in a way. So if we're having chicken, we're eating chicken breast. But actually, if we eat different parts of the animal, then that's really important to get lots of micronutrients. And I think liver is one of those parts of an animal that is actually, in moderation, obviously, can be quite important. Eggs as well is a good source of vitamin A, and leafy kind of green vegetables that I mentioned before as well.
Fantastic. And what about L-theanine? The people that don't really know what that is, how could they get that into their diet?
That we can get that from green tea. So I think really, I mean, if we're talking about habits as well to help boost the immune system and maybe achievable things that people can do, bringing some green tea into the diet, that might be quite a nice way to do that. A herbal tea, especially during the winter, if you're wanting to maybe reduce some of your tea and coffee consumption in the evening, then you can do that with green tea, which I think is quite a nice thing to do.
Fantastic. Now we'll be back to talk a lot more about what we can do to support our immune system in the cold and flu season through diet and also supplementation, after a few messages from our commercial partners.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
You're listening to Dora Walsh on UK Health Radio. On my show, Nutrition for Health, Perfect Weight and Wellbeing, we're talking about how to support immune health through your nutrition and supplementation throughout the cold and flu season. And I'm here with Amy Young. She's the head nutritionist of Alyve Wellness personalised supplements. You can find out more about them on www.alyvewellness.com or at Alyve Wellness. And I'm going to spell that for you because it's a bit different. It's ALYVE wellness.com. So definitely check out their website. They're doing personalized supplements and you can tailor them to your immune system and for loads of other conditions as well, or goals. Amy, you very kindly talked through a lot of different things that we should be thinking about at this time of year to support our immune system, talking about vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin A, selenium, lemon balm, and L-theanine. How else can we support our immune system? Because I know you also talked about gut health and you want to divide our immune system away from our gut health. It's almost like we have to talk about it together. And I think a lot of people don't really know about that, do they?
No. And I think I mentioned before, we had 70% of our immune system is in the gut. And I think as practitioners, I think one of the first things we learn when we study is that the entire body is linked and all our body systems are linked. And it starts with the immune system, with the digestive system, the gut, and everything links onto that. And I think because the gut is the gateway to our body, and the food goes into our gut, then that's really, really important that we look after it. And that I think if we're talking about gut health, we're talking about the microbiome, which is a good bacteria, and trying to get that balance right. And I think if we're talking about gut health and the immunity, we also have to maybe touch upon how stress can affect that as well, because that really does. Stress can impact the gut microbiome, that can then impact the immune system. So even if your listeners are thinking about how they can help their immune system, trying to even bring in something to help lower their stress, that can be really powerful and really important as well.
Yeah, because as nutritionists, we know that when we're stressed out, we have these tight junctions in the gut, and research apparently they open up more when we're stressed. And if there are pathogens in the gut coming in from food or other sources, etc., they can gain entry into our body, and then that can stimulate the immune system. And we need those tight junctions to work really well. So stress can loosen those. So we definitely need to manage that stress as well as we can. It's so good for people to understand how everything in the body is interconnected. We can't look at things in isolation. So the healthier the gut, actually the healthier the immune system, because as you mentioned, it's a barrier. And we talked about that at the beginning. There are barriers in the body that can prevent and withstand infection. But if we breach those barriers, then you're kind of stimulating the secondary part of the immune system, and that's more of a stress on the body. So really, the stronger those barriers are, the better. And as you say, good fibers support the growth of good bacteria. That good bacteria can crowd out bad bacteria, and they're working like policemen, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I always say that as well. There's a lot of talk about probiotics, which I'm a fan of, but lesser talk about prebiotics. And I often describe the prebiotics as giving us the soil. And if we don't have good soil, then we can't grow good plants or good vegetables. If we're a gardener, or if if you've got an allotment, you're trying to work on good soil. And that's what gut is like. And we get the prebiotics from those fibers that you mentioned as well. And obviously there's really important vitamins in those fibers as well. When we eat those, fiber gets fermented in our gut, which produce short chain fatty acid, and they help us provide energy for our gut, and play a vital role in other areas of our health as well. So really, if you're thinking about supporting the gut and the immune system, then making sure you're getting those non-soluble fibers in your diet, such as the wholemeal bread or pasta, potatoes, grains. We need those to promote the environment for our beneficial bacteria to flourish.
Yeah, I think it's so good that you've mentioned this, because as you mentioned, some people are on these diets where they're cutting down on their carbs, but we know that too many carbs aren't good. It's just the quality of the carbs that are important. And the ones you're talking about, as you mentioned, they are a form of prebiotic, and that's the food stuff for the good bacteria, because the good bacteria, the probiotic bacteria, feed on the prebiotic food stuff, these fibers, and they need food. Like your gut bacteria need to be fed with the right stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get good bacteria growing, and it's not going to be able to do a good job for you. So
yeah.
Have to be careful with these faddish diets, and just make sure we're not cutting all carbs out. And for the carbs that come in, need to be the right ones. So as you mentioned, I guess potatoes with their skins on, brown bread, brown pasta. I also like, have you heard of green banana powder? That part might sound a bit out there. Have you heard about that one?
I haven't actually.
Yeah, that's a good one. And and apparently bananas are good prebiotics, asparagus.
Yeah. Onions and garlic, I think, as well.
Yeah, so people think that they need, as you mentioned, probiotics, and they do a good job. But if you have the good prebiotics in there, they're not going to do much, are they?
No, not really. And I think I always talk about demonizing of carbohydrates really in the media industry, which has really made people afraid of eating carbs, which is such a shame. And I think we're supposed to get about 30 grams of fiber a day, and the average adult in the UK gets less than that. I think it was around 18 grams. I probably need to double check the absolute up-to-date research on that, but it was 18 grams the research a couple of years ago. And I think if you're an adult and you're eating that much less fiber, that really does have an impact on your digestive health as you get older. And so it really is, again, if it's something, if you're listening to this and you're thinking you don't get enough fiber in your diet, or maybe you've been cutting carbs, then maybe that's something to consider in your diet, to maybe try and increase them a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So what else can we do to protect our immune system?
I think, if we can talk about, if we're thinking of over the winter and we're wanting maybe an easy habit, I think we can make sure that we have maybe a smoothie in the morning that's really balanced out. So we can pack that full of fruits and vegetables. That's really good as well for time saving as well. And you can use frozen fruit and veg. So even if you're putting blueberries in or bananas, you can actually put a bit of spinach in there, maybe some cucumber to help balance out that sugar. Because I think we don't want to overload our smoothies with loads of sugar. We want to make sure they've got fiber in them. And so I think that's a nice way that people can start to protect the immune system.
Yeah, definitely. I love a morning smoothie, and all different things in there. Amy, I love making a smoothie. I get frozen berries. They're really reasonable in the supermarket because the fresh berries can be quite pricey. It's worth it. And I like to mix vegetables, as you say, sometimes some kale, which sounds horrible, but when you've got the berries in and maybe a bit of chopped pineapple, it's lovely. And I really like to add a bit of protein powder.
Yeah.
Protein is good for immunity as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And again, I think there can be two different camps of that. I think sometimes people overload a bit on protein because there's definitely that kind of strand in for a diet as well. But some people tend to not get enough as well. And it's important to balance out every meal with those important macronutrients, protein and carbs and our fats. And I think as well, another important way to support the immune system is making sure that we have enough healthy fats in our diet, as they are anti-inflammatory. And I think we've spoken about things being to help with inflammation, and good fats really do help to do that.
Yeah, and also supporting cell wall integrity, because then they keep the cell walls strong, and we need those strong cell walls. Now, a lot of people think that healthy diet is enough, and you and I, we love healthy eating. We really think that is the baseline for health and immunity. But what are your thoughts on supplements? Should we supplement? Is it good to supplement? And should we be doing it just in winter or throughout the year?
I think we can. Yeah, I think it's great to supplement because it really does. It makes we can make sure that we are getting the optimum nutrition to support ourselves, and we can supplement all year round. Our bodies might have different needs all year round. And we as humans go through different things throughout the year. So we personally might need different things at different times. If we're going through a particular stressful time, for example, you can look to supplement for that. Obviously, winter, we're talking about immunity. You can do that, and so yes, it's definitely good to top up those nutrients. I think some of them we store in our body, but as I said, those water soluble vitamins, we do need them every day, and sometimes because of our busy lifestyles, the reasons we mentioned before about not getting enough nutrition, there is the need for that in our modern day life, really, to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, I hear you. And is there a good time to supplement? Should you be supplementing in the morning, lunchtime, dinner? Should they be split dose? Because I notice that some multivitamins will come and they'll say have 2 a day. So I'm wondering, and I know my clients wonder sometimes, should you be taking them twice a day, or should you be taking them in one dose? What's the best time of day? Should it be with food or without food, on an empty stomach? What are your thoughts? I mean, if we're spending money on supplements, we need to know how are we going to make them effective in our body in the best way so that they do their job and we get a benefit.
Yes, I would say the morning is a good time. I think if we're talking about multivitamins. The morning, especially if we've got energy vitamins that help our energy levels, such as the B vitamins, then it's good to supplement in the morning, because then we can get the best out of our vitamins then.
Yeah. Okay. So morning is best. And I guess if you're taking calming nutrients, L-theanine on its own or something, then it
Yeah.
was happening. I've got you. And tell us more about your work at Alyve Wellness.
Yeah. So
involved in a company that it's quite personalised in terms of the supplements you provide for people, isn't it?
It is, yes. And I think it was born out of the need, the founder's need to find this like more personalised supplementation easily. And I think many of us can spend quite a bit of money on supplements. And I think the average that we can spend is about £73 a month. So Alyve really wanted to solve that problem and produce good quality supplements that targeted personalised needs in an affordable way. And that's what they did. So you can have a Alyve subscription that can start from £20 a month. So that is quite a good saving. And it's important to say they're non-GMO. They don't have any binders or fillers. You take 2 capsules a day, the same multivitamin, and they're plastic free and biodegradable. So they look after the environment as well. And they're personalised around client health goals. So one of the goals is immunity, and one of the goals is sleep. We've got focus in there. We've got energy. So you do a questionnaire, and you choose these goals, and then the clever technology figures out your personalised supplement, and you get it delivered through the post in a couple of days. So it really does help to solve that problem of loads of bottles, of getting really confused. And it's got the nutrients, some of the nutrients we've spoken about as well, but there's botanicals in there as well, which are really important minerals, some of the stuff that you buy singly by yourself, but in a supplement with everything else for your goals. That is a really nice way to make sure you're hitting all your needs.
Fantastic. Now I can see that they do one for immune health. So I guess if you went on the website and you said your goal was immune health, I guess at this time of year, there's loads of people doing that and thinking about it. What kind of nutrients are they going to get in their mix? Is it specific to them, or they just put an immune mix in for everyone and then add something in if they have another goal?
Yeah, so there is certain minerals and vitamins or nutrients that are for immunity, but then if they were to choose focus, then it would consider those nutrients as well, and they would get paired in with the supplement as well. So we're talking about immunity. We've got vitamin A, we've got the obvious contenders that we've spoken about, vitamin C, vitamin D. We've got selenium that we spoke about. Cayenne pepper is a nice one that's in there. Lemon, ginseng as well. So there's quite a broad spectrum of nutrients packed in there. And
it's great to hear that you're mixing in like the botanicals and the vitamins and the minerals. You don't see many supplements like that, do you?
No, exactly. It is a really nice way to supplement, and it's just very simple. And I think that's what we need, really. And then every month you get a top up. You get a little bottle with your name on for your first delivery. And then after that, you just get them sent in the door. They just come through your letterbox in biodegradable packaging. And then you can just top up your bottle as you go.
What are the feedback from the people that are trying the immune supplements or for other conditions?
Really, really great. We have, for people that have the supplements, we have a Facebook group, and we always get great feedback in there. So myself and the nutrition team are in the Facebook group to support anybody with any questions, or we might talk about different health concerns that anyone might have, and that's a nice little add-on. You also, after 3 months, you can get a free health consultation with myself or one of the nutrition team as well. So as a brand, we really do want to make sure we're looking after you from a health perspective as well, not just giving you the supplements, but making sure we can support lifestyle goals as well, and just help with the everyday well-being.
Great to hear that there's something out there that is so personalized. Let's go on to talk about the seasonality of foods and your on that. It just came up into my mind because Obviously, we're in the winter season, and a lot of people that want to get vitamin C are maybe thinking of tropical fruits or things like that. But we know that they have long supply chains. They have to come a long way to us, and maybe they might not be as nutritious.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on seasonal or local foods? Can
Yes.
be a good source of vitamin C, because we're always thinking of fruits and summer fruits as a source. I know you talked about veg, etc., but let's talk about seasonality.
Yeah, so I think it's really important. So, I mean, I actually love winter for cooking because it can be quite easy to put a slow cook on. And seasonal fruits and veg, they actually do have a high nutritional value if you can get them sourced locally. So I know it's not always possible to get a veg box, get one delivered, but you might have a good fruit and veg market stall, and then more likely to get locally sourced fruit and veg. Because some antioxidants such as vitamin C can actually decline when they're stored. And that's one of the important reasons to eat seasonally. So you can do lots of roasting of veg, and I said lots of stews, lots of slow cooked soups as well, I think is a really important thing. And I think if we're talking about immunity as well, I think making sure that you can cook a batch of soup and have that in the fridge and just to heat up, or maybe someone in your household can make you a quick soup. It can be very easy as well. It can be actually quite a quick meal to do. Seasonal food tastes better, and winter produce actually supports our nutritional needs. So we're actually primitively in tune with seasonal produce. And I think that's what we actually forget as human beings, we're primitively meant to do. And I know it's not possible to do that. I mean, this is another subject, but the circadian rhythm, I love talking about that. But primitively, we're supposed to do different things that we don't do, which has an impact on our health. And eating seasonally is one of those things. So it might be worth having a look in your local area for markets and for veg boxes if you can do that.
Yeah, so good. Better for the environment too. Now,
Yes.
It's December, isn't it, Amy? And people do tend to indulge on stuff. There's a lot of sweet boxes and sweet presents and chocolates, lovely tasting gingerbread houses and all of that. But we know as nutritionists that sugar intake does depress the immune system, which is a bit of a downer. But how can we balance that out at Christmas when we are indulging in these things? How can we still support our immune system? Is there a healthier way to get some sweet treats in? What can we do?
I think an important thing to mention is 80-20. I think there is an element of enjoying certain events, not going completely crazy, but actually enjoying things for what they are. And I was actually looking a bit of research recently about guilt. And if you feel guilty when you eat foods, that can actually have the opposite effect. And it can show that people who associated food with guilt were no healthier or motivated to act than those that didn't. So I think that's an important thing to think about. But I think during December, I think we can do little things that can help. So if we're going to lots of parties, for example, and we're overindulging, making sure that you have a meal before you go out to a party, for example, so you've got a nice balanced meal that can support you, because obviously if you've had a meal that's high in antioxidants, that can also help with the effects the next day. So make wiser kind of choices at the buffet if you want to, and even not eating near the buffet table. That can be a really simple thing that you can do to help bring a bit of balance over the Christmas season. Put things on your plate and then walk away, and then put your plate down and don't graze. And even making sure that you've got enough food in the next day for a nice breakfast. So as we were talking about, a nice smoothie. So you can fruits and bananas, they are rich in potassium, which helps replenish the electrolytes that we can lose through alcohol. And you can, as I said, put extra veggies in like spinach or cucumber to help. And making sure that you've got a meal with B vitamins, which are good for energy and supporting liver health. So eggs are really good for liver health as well. And so is spinach, is a good source of folate. So that helps the body to repair DNA. So we can really support the winter season by eating enough food. It doesn't always have to be thinking about, I can't eat that, I shouldn't eat that. we can also go, well, I'll enjoy that evening, but I'll just also make sure that I'm not overindulging a bit too much in alcohol, because sadly alcohol does decrease, it does hamper the immune system, which is a bit of a shame over Christmas. But thinking about moderation with that is important as well, if we don't want to be struck down too badly with our colds.
Yeah, definitely. I think you sound like a very practical nutritionist, and everything in balance. I like the fact that you sound like you really plan things out for yourself and for your clients that you're working with, because I know you also work one-to-one with your own clients as well as working with Alyve Wellness. So it is really good to have that plan, as you mentioned. If you make sure you have food in the house for the next day for the healthy breakfast, to reduce any of these kind of hangovers, hopefully. One, because you ate and planned your meal before you went out, and you made sure you were satiated so that you didn't overindulge yourself too much, either alcohol or sweet treats and things that aren't too healthy. So it sounds like it's a lot of planning and organization, doesn't it, in order to be healthy? But ultimately it reaps a reward on the immune system.
Definitely. And I think everything is habit-based. And if you get into a routine, it might feel difficult to start with, but after a month or so, it becomes second nature to plan your meals and to think about what food can kind of go in different meals.
Yeah,
what food keeps relevant, for example. Sorry?
We're going to talk a bit more about that in a minute after a few messages from our commercial partners.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
You're listening to Dora Walsh on UK Health Radio. On my show, Nutrition for Health, Perfect Weight and Wellbeing, I'm here with Amy Young. She's head nutritionist at Alyve Wellness Personalised Supplements. You can find out more about them on alyvewellness.com or at Alyve Wellness. And I'll spell Alyve because it's a bit different than the usual spelling. It's Alyve and then wellness. So we were talking about being really organized and forward planning so that we can really support our immune system throughout the winter season, thinking about our meals, thinking about what's going in them, thinking about the nutrition in our meals, our supplements, and also planning when we're going out to parties. So just before we finish off our interview for today, Amy, can you give us maybe 3 immune boosting meal ideas that you think are really supportive of our immune health that people can try? I know you mentioned you like slow cooking, and maybe give us a few ideas that people can take away from this interview today.
I would definitely, I think if we're talking about ingredients, I would say arm your freezer with foods that can easily be added to things. Like frozen spinach is a great one, because you can pretty much put that in anything, whether it's scrambled eggs in the morning to add a bit more nutrition. You can pop that in a tomato base. If you're cooking for kids, you can blend that up so the spinach is hidden, so they don't know it's there. Frozen berries, I think we've touched upon, is really good as well, because you don't have to worry about them going off. So I think those are really important things. It doesn't always have to be organic kind of food. I think sometimes people can get a bit bogged down with that. It can be simple foods, really. Bringing it back to basics, I think, cooking from scratch. And I think if you're making a stew, adding some lentils in there, maybe some kidney beans as well to help boost the fibre as well. We spoke about gut health. I think that's a nice tip. And I think maybe trying some different soups as well. So I do, one of my tips is often to, one week when you go to the supermarket, just buy a different vegetable that you don't normally eat. Have a look at a quick recipe and bring that into your repertoire for the next week. You don't have to suddenly start cooking loads of different kinds of things and being a whiz in the kitchen with loads of different kinds of recipes. You can just buy something, an aubergine, for example, that maybe you haven't cooked with before, and maybe roast that in the oven and have that with your meal, just to try and help that variety of your produce.
Yeah, it sounds really different. I think it's definitely good to to expand the repertoire, as you say, expand the repertoire of fibers, expand the repertoire of different fruits and vegetables that you can use in your meals, so that you're getting more and more different nutrients into your diet that are going to support the immune system. Mm. Amy, it's been so lovely talking to you. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and hopefully keep in touch for the future.
Yes, I will do. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
So listeners, I hope you've enjoyed listening to me today as much as I've enjoyed presenting the show. We thank Amy, and please look out next week for our next episode. Until then, goodbye.